Hi, I'm Sarah from Floral, and today I'm going to show you guys exactly how to make this beautiful dried wreath that's perfect for hanging on your front door to bring in the essence of fall. So let's get going. I'll show you how to do it. So in terms of the supplies I'm using, I've got this grapevine wreath, but you can really use anything. And then I've got some ribbon to finish it off. I've got ribbon scissors. I've got my trusty pruners, but you can also use scissors. And I've got some paddle wire here. This is 24 gauge. And then I've got all my little bundles of flowers here. So I've got a mix of different flowers. I've got some pennycress, nigella, eryngium, statice, and this gray stuff that I don't remember the name of, but you can really do it with whatever. So before I get started actually making my wreath, what I do is make all these little bundles, and I try to make them similar size and shape and composition. It's like this one here, I got a little overeager, so I'm gonna take a couple pieces out of it so it more closely resembles the size of the others. And so I've got here 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 bundles because I'm going to just fill half of my wreath with these bundles. So I'm going to start by making them up, and I varied the height and the shape of them. And I want to have some flowers that were kind of at the bottom of the bundle. So now I've got my bundles all ready. I'm going to take my paddle wire and I'm going to attach it to this wreath base. So I'm gonna just feed it through kind of the middle of the wreath just so I have a good catchment point. And then I'm gonna pull it back onto itself and just twist it around a couple times just to make sure it's nice and firm. And then I'll take my paddle wire and wrap it around the wreath a couple times again, just to make sure it's in there really secure. I'm gonna be using this same piece of paddle wire throughout my whole entire wreath. So I'm going to take my first bundle and place it over top of where I just put the paddle wire. So I'm going to put the paddle wire at about 3/4 down, just on the stemmy part here. Then I take my paddle wire and I wrap it all the way around. And I'm doing about 3 wraps, and I'm staggering how I'm wrapping it. So I did 3 wraps. One is here, here, and here. Maybe I'll do a 4th one just for good measure, making sure that I'm pulling it tight in between. And like I said, we're keeping this wire going the entire way. Then I'm going to take my second bundle and I'm going to stagger it over top, taking this continual paddle wire that I'm not cutting, and then again wrapping it 3 or 4 times around my bundle of flowers. So I'm about halfway there. So I'm just gonna keep on doing what I was doing earlier. I've got all my bundles nicely ready to go, so I can do this nice and quick. I'm just laying it over top of the pre-existing bundle, doing a couple wraps around. And there's a couple tips and tricks here. So one is that I wanna make sure my wire stays tight. If I have the wire too loose, then it has a tendency to have my bundles move, and then that will cause my wreath to become misshapen. Then another tip and trick is when you put your bundles on, you wanna make sure there's not too much of this foliage like facing on the inside. So say I had this bundle like this instead. When I put the arrangement together, you can see it kind of encroaches onto the circle. And so I just wanna make sure that I have all my larger pieces like facing the outside. And the third tip and trick I want to tell you guys is to make sure that you're staggering these bundles, because if you're not, then it gives way too much space in between them. So here's an example. If I put this bundle right here, you can see all the wire, and that really doesn't look great. If you do them too close, it's essentially making 2 bundles at once. So just having them staggered properly is really key. And then I thought of another trick. The other thing is to make sure all these little bundles are sort of the same composition, because if you start at the top with really big ones and then you change sizes when you get to the bottom, then it looks super uneven. So that's why I make all my little bundles to start with. So I'm almost at the end of where I want to stop this wreath decoration. So I'm going to make one last little bundle here. And this is too much greenery at the end here. I'll see too much stem. So I just cut it a little bit shorter. And then I'm going to take my bundle, same as the technique I've been doing this whole entire time. I'm staggering it over top of the bundle just before, taking my wire and wrapping it around nice and snug. Because this is my last bundle, I'm gonna wanna have a little bit extra wraps just to make sure it doesn't come out. And then take a little bit of a tail here. I'm gonna cut it. And I'm now gonna take this tail, and I'm just gonna weave it in to my wreath base just to tie off the remaining part of my wire to make sure that it doesn't inadvertently come out. I'm just gonna do a couple wraps back and forth here. And then I'll take the end and cut it off. So now I've got this piece here that doesn't look so great. So I'm gonna take some ribbon and use that to cover the tail. So I already cut this ribbon obviously, but just wanted to tell you guys the importance of using proper ribbon scissors. So I'll just show you here. So these ribbon scissors, I'm gonna do a nice little cut here. And I'll show you what it would be like if I used my pruning snips. It actually doesn't even do anything. It just kind of mangles it. So you definitely want to have your ribbon scissors. And if you reserve them just for ribbon, then they stay sharp. So I'm going to take my ribbon, fold it in half. Then I'm going to take it and hinge it over top of where I'm hiding. So that way I have a little loop kind of on the back side here. And then I'm going to feed in my tail through the hole and then just pull it through. And then I'm gonna have to kind of finagle it a little bit so that way it hides all my wire. And then the last thing that I'll do is I'll kind of look back and see, is there any holes where I could use a little bit more flowers to kind of fill it in? So maybe I want something a little bit more in here. So I'll take in some extra flowers and just kind of shove them in. I'm also not loving how wild this is here. So I'm gonna take my pruners and just give it a little bit of a haircut. And this is always helpful to do when you can give yourself a little bit more space, like look at it from afar. And because we have it already wired in, we can find spaces, just kind of shove the extra flowers in. And then once I'm happy with it, I'm gonna call that a day. So there you go. This is how to make a beautiful fall dried wreath for your front door or really anywhere. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have questions.